Hey guys, Bushcraft412 here, and I want to show you my overnight backpacking kit. Now this is a really kind of super lightweight setup that I've used for quite a few years, pretty successfully. And I got a couple of trips coming up backpacking around the 4th of July, and so I'm kind of packing up and testing out a couple new setups and getting ready for the trip. And I wanted to share this setup right here, which I'm probably going to use for a quick overnight from the 3rd to the 4th, and then I'll probably be coming back and then backpacking again for a long weekend. So I'll be doing 2 trips in 1 week. And this is my quick overnight setup. I just weighed it, and it is 11 pounds even. And but the only thing this kit is lacking right now is water. So if you add water to it, you're going to be at about 12 and a half, maybe 13 pounds, which puts it in the lightweight category and pretty close to ultralight. You could definitely shave 2 or 3 pounds from this kit. This is packed up in an REI Jet Ul. It's a discontinued pack, very small. I don't know the exact capacity on this thing, but it's pretty small. And I ended up getting it for like $29.99 back in the day. Unfortunately, they're discontinued, but I know you can get some like on eBay used, and sometimes some new ones are still kicking around. But really nice ultralight pack for I guess probably just overnight trips or day hikes. This wouldn't do a weekend really. So let's get into this. We'll get the big stuff out of the way first, then go to the smalls. This right here is my clothing bag, and what is in here is an extra pair of underwear, an extra pair of socks, 1 pair of long johns, and 1 long sleeve quarter zip shirt. They're all made of a wicking material, pretty much like polyester or nylon. It keeps the weight down. I could get this smaller. This isn't a compression sack. I could take the volume out of this by about half. But I do like to keep them in a waterproof bag. That way you always have dry clothes to switch into at night. Now when I'm on the trail, I typically backpack with a pair of like gym shorts and kind of a nylon wicking t-shirt, and those I can kind of consider my traveler work clothes. And then at night I switch into the night clothes when I'm ready for bed. Say if the bugs are really bad, I will throw on the long johns and then put the shorts on over them, or if I get cold, I'll do that same kind of setup. But typically I keep the travel clothes and the sleeping clothes pretty separate. Next is the food bag. Now mind you, this is only a overnight trip, so all that's in here is pretty much some ramen, some tuna, a thing of mac and cheese, and a small little package of oatmeal. It's basically like 2 meals, because if I'm going in, typically I'm not going to eat lunch. I'm just going to eat a big dinner, which will be the ramen and tuna, and then I got some instant rice in there too. I can mix in to make like a little bit of a casserole, and then breakfast is some oatmeal. And usually by that time, I'll be kind of hiking out the next day, so I usually kind of keep it to 2 meals on an overnight trip. Unless I'm staying really late, then I'll add a 3rd meal, but I keep the food real light on overnights. So it's about maybe 1.5 pounds or so of food there. Also in a waterproof bag. Number 1, it helps cut down the smell. If you are, plus everything inside that bag is in Ziplocs, so I do have some extra Ziplocs in case I need them, but I do everything in Ziplocs. And then a waterproof bag. It helps cut down the smell and keeps it from attracting so many animals. Got my pocket rocket, which I use for cooking. You can cut down a lot of weight by going to the smaller tank. This is the bigger tank, but I like having it because if I do decide I want to boil a lot of water and have a lot of nice clean fresh water, I like that option. But for an overnight, this is overkill. So you definitely lose 1/2 pound by switching to a smaller tank, or even just going to a lighter weight cook system. There's alcohol stoves for an overnight can be very lightweight and quite a bit of an advantage. But when it's an overnight for me, I do like a little bit of convenience, and that convenience is in the cooking. My new 45 degree sleeping bag. It's Alpine, kind of a cheapo. Got this for $17. I'm going to be testing this out on this weekend here. It's a 45 degree bag, but the temperatures for next week are scheduled to be in the 80s, so I'm not sweating it. Overnight temperatures look like to be about 65. So 45 will be more than sufficient. And that only weighs 1.76 pounds. Next, we have my little tiny, it's not packaged very good, Outdoor Products backpacking tarp. It's a 5x7 tarp. It weighs considerably less than a pound. You can get these from Walmart for like $8. I've already got some nylon string attached to it. I either use this as a kind of like a little tarp tent or a ground cloth. It's very lightweight, so cool little product. Sees a lot of use as a ground cloth. If you want to save weight and you are counting weight, you can swap this out with a Tyvek ground cloth and you'll save, you know, quite a bit of weight. USGI Poncho, multiple use item. Number one, I can use it as a poncho if it rains, but I use this as kind of a tarp tent. It's pretty big, and when you make it out to be kind of an A-frame, it's big enough. Also, another thing I do with this, because this is rather large, this makes for a very good bivy sack for your sleeping bag. It has snaps on the ends, and you can wrap this up around your sleeping bag, and it makes an awesome waterproof sleeping bag cover or bivy sack. Lots of times I use this in place of a tent. It's very waterproof, and you can completely kind of seal yourself into it, which is really kind of nice. So you can use the ground cloth and this on top of you, or you can use this as a bivy sack. Lots of options. Plus, it's a kick-ass poncho. Weight on that's a little on the heavy side. It's like 1.5 pounds. There are lighter options out there, but I do like the versatility of that piece of gear because I can use it for, you know, multiple uses, and that's really big when you're trying to cut down on the weight. And that's it for the main pouch. Let's go into this side pouch here, or the top pouch. We have a chamois cloth, which I use as a towel or bandana. I cut it to size to work as a bandana, but really good as a backpacking towel. Weighs almost nothing. A couple of bug nets. Very good piece of gear to have when you're not using a tent. There's actually 2 of them in here. Weight on these is pretty much nothing. Next is the Ditties bag. I have a compass and emergency whistle, a couple of Esbit tablets, spork, 2 flashlights, some wet fire tinder, and a deck of playing cards for entertainment. So that's my ditty bag. Weighs probably about 1 pound. This is my emergency stuff. There is a space blanket in there, which will, if you use that inside of your sleeping bag, will give you a couple extra degrees out of the sleeping bag. You can use it as a ground cloth. You can use it as something to cover up in, or what, you know, a lot of uses for a space blanket. I always bring one with me. On the back side of that is, I think, 2 contractor-sized garbage bags. Another great piece of gear. What I tend to do with these is I will fill them up with like dead leaves and pine needles and use them as a mattress when I'm backpacking. It saves me the weight of having to carry a ground pad. So I just kind of go around, find my campsite, pick up dead leaves, maybe ferns, any kind of, you know, plant material I can gather, just dump it in here and make kind of a nice air mattress out of it. Very comfortable. I tell you what, it beats a ground pad. And the cool thing is you don't have to pack the weight. You know, you can just kind of dump it out and leave, you know, all that stuff you picked up on the ground, and you don't have to carry it with you. And if you're careful and you don't rip it, you can use it again night after night. So very cool item. I always carry 2 or 3 of them. In here there's 2 because it is an overnight. Not for everybody, but it does save you the weight of the ground pad, so I never leave home without it. First aid kit. In here we've got a couple Tylenol, Benadryl, Band-Aids, some rubber gloves. There's a little mini like hotel bar of soap in there, some chapstick, burn cream. There's another Esbit tablet in there. All kinds of little stuff. This is pretty well set for an overnight. This is probably overkill, but this only weighs maybe 1/3 of a pound, but you could cut the weight on this in half, no problem. You really don't need this much for an overnight. That's it for the top pocket. Over here, we'll pull this out real quick since this is the main cook system that goes with the Nalgene and nesting cup. Works great with the pocket rocket. This is another place you can save a lot of weight. You can replace the Nalgene with just like an empty water bottle or a Gatorade bottle, and you can replace that cup with there's quite a few that are lighter than this. This is a little on the heavy side, but you can if you're going to be cooking, you can actually replace it with like those like pie tins, the aluminum flashing pie tins. You can get some of those and cook in them instead of cooking in one of these. That'll save you a lot of weight if you're really worried about weight. But this is 11 pound, guys. You know, I'm perfectly happy with 11 pounds. So that is my cook and water system. And now some more fun stuff over here. We have the Mora knife. It's an older Mora. It's seen its use in the woods. It's very lightweight, maybe 3 ounces, 14 bucks. Can never go wrong with a Mora. We have a Fisker's camp saw from like Home Depot, $15 thing. This is pretty heavy. It's probably close to a pound. You can replace this with lighter options or just leave it at home. It's an overnight trip, guys. You know, you don't need to do a ton of process a ton of wood. Just, you know, throw what you can on the fire, break what you can over your knee. You don't need it, but yes, it makes life a lot better if you like a campfire at night. So, but lighter options out there. A little bit of bug dope, just in case. We got some extra paracord, probably about 20 foot there. And that is it. That is the 11 pound overnight bag. Now if you want to stretch this out to a weekend, really all you need is just a little bit more food. Oh yeah, another thing I did mention is in my first aid kit here, there are a handful of water purification tablets in here as well. So I do have an extra option for food. So I can use my pocket rocket as well as the water purification tabs. Or I can just boil water directly over the fire. So multiple options for that. The only thing you do not see in the pack is what I will carry on me, which usually I will carry something like my Leatherman here. If I don't carry my Leatherman, I'll carry just a really good pocket knife and a lighter. I always carry a lighter or two in my pocket in the woods. And then lastly, usually, because, you know, I always bring my keys backpacking with me as well. And I do have quite a few tools on my keys. I have my Gerber dime multi-tool. I have a backup flashlight, small pry bar, a, if I can find it, a little military can opener, just in case I had some cans or anything like that, but I usually don't. Small compass, just, you know, extra precaution. And a small, teeny Boy Scout ferro rod that I actually found in the woods one day, so keep that on there. And that's it for the keys. And then in my wallet, which I don't always bring with me, guys, so don't think this is stuff I always have on me. But typically in my wallet, if I do bring it for an overnight, I would probably bring it. And here is a signal mirror and a Fresnel lens. So we have another means of starting a fire and a means of signaling. And I also have, last but not least, I have a emergency fishing kit with some fishing line and a couple of hooks in here. So I have that as well. So nice little bit of gear. The only thing I'm not showing you is a couple of lighters. But that's it for a quick overnight. It's not the most comfortable setup on earth. It's not the best setup on earth, but it works for me. And I just wanted to share it. About 11 pounds total. But I could probably bring it down to 9 if I really tried. But, you know, this is good with me. 11's good. If I want to bring it to a full weekend pack and add the extra food, you're looking at an extra pound of food, and then I might bring maybe one extra set of an extra t-shirt and some extra shorts, which might add another, you know, third of a pound or so. So altogether for a weekend, I'm probably looking about 14 pounds. But this pack at a full weekend is going to be bursting at the seams, but I typically just use it for the one-nighters. Hope you guys enjoyed, and happy trails, guys. I'll be out all next week hitting the trail and having a blast, and hopefully I'll get you guys some new videos.